Hi, I'm Kathy Withers from Withers Wool, and today I'm going to give you part 2 of my knitwear design. Last week I talked about using books, charts, and other ways of getting inspiration for your own personal design. This week I'm going to talk about how to design using art yarn and how to design a shawl that you like with the shaping that you like. So I have a shawl that I call my Twilight Collar, and the important thing about this one is that it uses supercoils, and the supercoils, I'm going to tilt it down so you can actually see it better. The supercoils are yarns that have big slugs in them and then a section of coils, and the pattern that I used approximately 21 yards of this. So when I spin these yarns, I actually design them with those with that intention. Usually I have 24 to 27, so you can actually get a couple of extra rows if you wanted a longer shawl when you did it. So to begin the design on this one, I cast on a certain number of stitches at the top from here to here, and I proceeded to increase a couple of different rows. And then once I felt like it was far enough from the collar, I started adding the art yarn. And the reason this shawl was designed is because I wanted to use the art yarn, and I discovered that if people don't have something that they can see that gives them an idea of what the art yarn looks like knitted up or crocheted, then they won't buy it. So this one here I designed specifically for that, and I created tails on it by increasing in the front and the back of the first and last stitch of every single row. And when you do that, you get a very elongated triangle, which was my design, because well, that pattern actually doesn't show it, but if I put it on, and this color-wise is not really gonna go, but it gives you the option of, see, I don't model very well, of tying a knot in the front so that it stays in place. So it looks like a little collar with some embellishment, and you can tie it down here. And unfortunately, I don't have very good control of my hands when it's cold, so I have a hard time doing this stuff. So you tie a little knot, and it's designed for a person that's a little bit larger than I am, so it's okay. What I used for the portion that goes with the supercoil is I used a 2-ply because I have lots of it, and I dyed it in a color that matched my yarn for the supercoil. So one thing to keep in mind when you're designing is that in terms of color, you want to put colors together and make sure they go together. So one way to do that is, let me take this off, is you can take, here's my 2-ply with lots and lots of yarn in it, and I can put it next to the other yarn, and you can say, oh yeah, it kind of goes. But to really know if it goes, you want to wrap them together so that you can see that they actually work together. Because when you knit them up, that's actually what's going to happen, is you're going to, unfortunately, the two yarns are two different lengths. But this will give you an idea that, yeah, they do go together. If they didn't go together, you'd kind of know. But this is how you can make a test as to whether colors go together. You can use 5 or 6 different colors and do the same little trick. And if there's some color that really pops to your eye, then it pretty much tells you that maybe those two colors don't go well together. So the past week, and that's why I'm talking to you about supercoils, is I have been spinning supercoils. So here's one, and I have a 2-ply that goes with it. They're combined with the same kind of fibers. They're all kid mohair and merino. So in terms of texture and feeling, they're going to be the same. They're already pre-washed, so they're not going to shrink on you and cause funky things to happen. But the supercoil has a cotton thread running through it, and I'm not so sure if you can see it or not, but that cotton thread means that this yarn will not shrink up any further or smaller than what it is now. So if you're thinking of felting something, this yarn will continue to have its texture. So I spun brown alpaca, and I have and it has kid mohair in it. This is a kid mohair merino. They'd go beautifully, and the color would pop. I have not quite a Wedgwood blue, but I have a blue that will color coordinate with these other 3 skeins of yarn that I spun. And all of these, by the way, are on my witherswool.etsy.com shop. And if you'd like to do the collar, here's what it looks like on a mannequin hanging down. So you've got the nice little triangles going down and the nice neck shaping. And if you have more of the 2-ply, you can make this collar extend to the size of a full shawl. Just know that your tails are going to get longer and longer and longer. And if you don't want that to happen, then what you need to do is only increase on the front side, not the front and the back. And this shawl right here is exactly the same thing, except I used beads in place. So if you already had that pattern, you wouldn't want my red beaded shawl pattern, because it's actually the same thing. It's just that I substituted beads for the supercoil. So this is a cool pattern. You can see that I hang it the way you would wear it, wrapped around. And depending on whether it's 100% merino, and this one's actually 100% hand spun. This is not one of my 2-plies. So it actually hangs and looks longer than a 2-ply would look. And then I started spinning beads yesterday, and I'm really loving it, because now that I'm not working in the garden, I can actually sit down and focus. And the thing about spinning beads is that once you string them, you pretty much need to sit down and be committed to spinning the entire skein at one time, because if you don't, you'll come back and find out that you're not spinning it the same way that you did before. And so the length between your beads will be different. And inevitably, it's just the fact of walking away causes, somehow you come back and you find it's tangly. So my goal is to put the beads on a thread, sit down and spin, and don't get up till I'm done. So it can be a 2-hour commitment, but it's totally worth it, because the yarns are really cool. So this blue one, you can see that the yarn looks pretty straight, pretty normal. That's after washing. Both of these are listed online. This one will go in the wash today, and it will actually end up looking like the blue one. It has more yardage than the blue, and after it's washed, it will stretch out more. But this yarn is made from merino. This one here is from mohair, and you can already see the size difference in it, because the merino, once you take it off your wheel, kind of shrinks up, whereas the mohair stays the same. If you knit with the mohair, whatever you make tends to grow. Whatever you make with the merino, stretch it out and let it back, and it pretty much stays the same size. A couple of notes. First of all, my hours, I've gone back to having you call, get an appointment, and come and visit because not enough people are coming out for me to think it's economically reasonable to turn on the propane in the barn. And so if you call and let me know you're coming, then I'll have at least the shop warmed up enough that you don't freeze. You're also welcome to come and visit the animals. Upcoming, the Fiber Art Studio Tour is going to be a much smaller tour this year. I am still participating in it. You may purchase my yarns online. Shipping is free as always. You can Facebook message me, call me up, email me, ask about yarns and what yarn will go with a certain art yarn, and I can send you a photo with a display of several different ones. And I am open by appointment on those 2 days it's the first weekend, December 5th and 6th, from 11 to 4. I thought about having it be drop-in, but with the COVID numbers going so high, I'm very uncomfortable with that. I would prefer to kind of space people out so nobody feels threatened. And I'm hoping to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving because that's next Thursday, and you're not going to see me on here. And next Wednesday, I'm going to pick up 2 Great Pyrenees puppies because the 2 that I have now are kind of getting on in age, and it actually takes a Great Pyrenees puppy approximately 2 years to be fully mature and fully prepared to defend from predators on the property. So I want to make sure that happens before something happens to my older dogs because they're truly slowing down. And I'm also going, since they're very close to one another, I'm going to the fiber mill, so I'm going to be picking up more yarn, and I'll be picking up more roving, and I'm kind of excited about that because new colors mean new things, new designs, and inspiration. Thank you for watching. This is Kathy Withers at Withers Wool. You may find me on Etsy as both Withers Wool and Art Weaving if you want to see what my finished goods end up being priced at. Bye-bye.